So usually I start out having a great, intro to our podcast, but today we're gonna let the great Jacob Leclaire go ahead and do our intro today.
Appreciate that. I'm gonna keep it a little mellow. It's a little upsetting news. Obviously, you could tell by my background. I believe his name was Dijon
Mhm.
Milicevic or something like that. Not trying to butcher his name, but he suddenly passed away. Warriors assistant coach suddenly passed away yesterday due to a heart attack. I just wanted to send my condolences to his family first and foremost and say rest in peace. Very, very sad news in the NBA world, and I hope everyone who was close to this man is dealing with it well.
Yeah, right. It was sad news. He had a heart attack, very young at the age of 46, I do believe.
Yeah.
An assistant coach, much bigger things ahead of him for sure, you know, with him and his family. My condolences to his family, of course. He's got, I believe, two kids, so it's unfortunate for them they have to grow up now without a father. And yeah, I mean, huge loss to the NBA, family. I know
Yeah.
it's a business, but at the end of the day, we are a family as the NBA, as they like
Mhm.
to say. So they lost a great one today, and hopefully this happens. People have heart attacks at early ages. Got to get checked up. Get that checked out. Early on. Make sure that you're healthy, so that you can prevent these issues happening in the future.
For sure. With that being said, we are going to touch on a few topics today. We're gonna have to cut out the Dolphins fan, given that Nick Say has a few things going on in his life right now, but we're gonna let that slide. Um, so the first thing we're going to talk about is obviously the NFL Round One recap. Me and Gio has a few things to get off our chest, given our favorite team's results. Me especially, but we'll get into that in a little bit. We're going to touch on our most surprising game as well, and then our Round Two prediction, our favorite team season recap, and then finally another trade went down in the NBA. Pacers Raptors. The Pacers got Pascal Siakam, so we're going to touch on how that changes things with the Pacers and who won that trade. So let's get right into it. And what team do you want to start with, Gio?
First round.
Yeah.
Um, let's go to the Eagles first. I know this was a very
Okay.
disappointing season for them.
Yeah.
Um, they were in the Super Bowl last year.
Correct.
Expected to get out of the, I wouldn't say expected because you had the 49ers, right? But they had a large
Well, they started
following
10.
that like
They started 10-1. Like you
right,
expected them to at least get the NFC Championship.
100%, right? And then what happened the last couple weeks is
Losing
purely on,
six of
I
the
think, Nick
last seven.
Sirianni,
Losing six of the last seven, that's got to be on the coach. It has to be.
right? Exactly. So losing six out of the last seven. Nick Sirianni is the head coach for now, right?
I
I expect them to fire him.
I expect them to keep him just solely because of the success he had early on in the season, and then this prior season losing two games and making the Super Bowl and being 3 points away of winning. I think it would be a little disrespectful to fire him based off these past few weeks, personally.
So, so this is the reason why they're going to keep him, right? I think they should fire him. I thought the Cowboys should fire McCarthy. I
We all
thought
know. We'll get my thoughts later, but we all know we should
New
have.
England should have kept Belichick. Here's the
Right.
thing with me, though. With all the landscape being what it is in the NFL, everyone's staying. Yes, he should. He's probably going to stay, right? He's done more for that franchise than Mike McCarthy has for the Dallas Cowboys, and he's staying, right? So for me in that aspect, yes, Nick Sirianni will stay. But losing six out of the last seven, being a Super Bowl contender, that doesn't cut it. The Eagles want a championship. Jalen Hurts' career is starting to go, get into his, I would say his prime a little bit, right? AJ Green, is he happy where he is in Philly, or is he going to
I
leave?
mean, you're talking about AJ Brown, not AJ Green.
My bad, AJ Brown. Yeah, yeah, yeah. AJ Brown.
I believe he is. It's a mix, to be honest. It depends on it if he gets the ball. That's what depends on it, and that's why I believe the Titans got rid of him because he can be a cancer to a locker room, and that showed this year. I believe.
Yeah, I mean, for him to not play in the playoff game, one, right? And then prior to that, I believe he deleted all his Eagles
He
stuff.
unfollowed
Is that correct?
everything. Yeah. Yeah.
So for that being said, I know George Pickens did that with with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but this is a high caliber player, not happy, not playing when it matters most. I don't think he's happy, and I think this is a huge issue which they need to fix. And I think this contributes to their last, losing 6 out of the 7 games of the season.
Oh, I agree. The the moment he threw a tantrum on the sideline is when it seemed like everything went downhill.
100%. And is it the landscape of the NFL right now where all these great wide receivers have all the power because they know they can go anywhere they want, they can force their way out of any situation they want. Do they have all the power? And if they're not happy, are they going to try to force their way out like some of these other players have?
I unfortunately believe that, yes, that is why people throw their helmets on the sideline and yell at the coach because they know they have the power. And that's why I know the Cowboys underachieved, but that's why I love CeeDee Lamb. He doesn't do any of that. He just goes out and does his job. That's the receiver that if I'm a GM, I'm looking at and taking because I know that every given Sunday he will go out there and do his job no matter what.
And again, I do agree in that standpoint. And AJ Brown was like that until he was this high caliber player. CD Lamb is coming into his own, right? He's becoming that star. Yes, he to you he has been a star, but for the world, he's becoming that star. He's becoming a top 3 wide receiver in the league right now consistently. Is he going to start having, that cap of I'm the best player on the team? I don't care if you're Dak Prescott. I don't care if you're Micah Fitzpat or Micah Parsons. I'm the best player on the team and I can do whatever I want.
I don't believe he will, but I think I like his approach that he took after a game this year where he didn't get the ball much. He went to the
Yeah.
media instead of throwing it on the sideline. Seeing it in the media compared to a sideline is much
Mhm.
different, and it's not as disrespectful as a tantrum on the sideline, in my opinion.
Um, so we've seen tantrums before. If you want to go that route, Tom
Yeah,
Brady, famous tantrums,
yeah.
famous. If you want to go watch some great tantrums, go to on YouTube, watch Tom Brady's.
You can watch Odell, hit himself in the helmet
But here's the thing: Tom Brady's tantrums were to motivate himself in the team, and
and his
usually that
offensive
worked
line.
out in their
Yeah,
favor.
like you could, after he yelled at his offensive line at Tampa, what did the O line go and do? They went and blocked.
Right. There's a clip right now, perfect clip of Peyton Manning yelling at Jeff Saturday, right? Right now going around Instagram. It's definitely in your feed if you're a sports fan. With that being said, the greats do throw tantrums, but it is to motivate the people around them, and to motivate themselves. Was AJ Brown is I understand that George Pickens was angry. He threw his helmet this prior week prior. Are these guys trying to motivate their team though? That's the whole question.
I believe George Pickens was because they're losing, but the problem I have with AJ Brown is that you guys were winning. So why do you care if you're getting the ball or not? The only thing that matters is if you win the game.
See, I do agree on that standpoint, but when you are the best receiver, you're looking to do your thing, right? I understand like all these numbers, right, to get your bonuses at the end of the year, right? Travis Kelce didn't get 1,000 yards, but that's his choice. AJ Brown wants all those bonuses at the end of the year because he wasn't getting fed the ball. He's not going to be able to reach the numbers that he needs to in order to get those bonuses, which it is a business and he needs to make a livelihood, and that is how he does it.
That's true, but I feel like he could have waited maybe until he got in the locker room to say something. You don't have to do it right on the sideline where all the cameras are watching you.
I agree, and I think this will be a situation we got to look at moving forward for the Eagles. But right now, that was probably, I would say, the second worst loss this season and second worst loss in the NFL in a long time.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Um, Obviously we
But
don't have a
I got to say this, though, real quick, since we're still on this matchup.
yeah.
My guy, Baker Mayfield. I know he wasn't highly, loved at the beginning of the year. I have followed this guy week in and week out, congratulating him every single week on a win that he has made. Him, Tyreek Evans, Chris Godwin, all those guys down there in Tampa. I am loving what I'm seeing from those guys.
Yeah, the Bucks are looking very hot, and I think they might give the Lions a run for their money if this is the Baker that shows up. But the first time these two played, it was at the Lions Stadium, and Baker did play poor. So it's going to depend on what Baker shows up.
Right, 100%.
But I do believe the Bucks don't count him out. If Baker plays this well, he knows what's on the line. He has incentives to win playoff games. He knows what's on the line. He wants his money. He's going to come out and play.
I mean, here's the thing though. We've seen consistently Baker Mayfield playing this way, right? I'm worried we're gonna see what he showed us in Cleveland.
Yeah, that's my worry too. And I think that's why the Lions will win ultimately is because yeah, Baker had a great game, but I've never seen him have two great games in a row.
I mean, I have seen him do two good games, and I think this is a different Baker. I think, he's in the playoffs. This is different for him because he's never been in this position before.
That's true, but you also got to dial it down a little bit because that Eagles defense is absolutely terrible and their missed tackles, they missed like 20 tackles that game.
Yeah.
But overall, obviously, still credit to Baker Mayfield, credit to the Bucks.
Yep.
They came out, did their job, and that's why they're moving on.
Yeah, 100%.
But you want to go to the Steelers game?
I mean, can we go to one more game? I'm trying to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
through all these games before ours, just because
All
I
right, that's
want I
fine.
want to be able to be present when we talk about these games, not
All right,
angry.
yeah, that's fine. We'll go. Dolphins fans not here, but we'll go Chiefs Dolphins. Here are our thoughts on that game. So, what are your thoughts on that game as a whole?
Um, the better team won out, in my opinion. They were the more experienced team. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, they did their thing. I told you right then last week that you had to pay attention to Pacheco and to Rice. Rasheed Rice, I told y'all that he was starting to get hot, and he did exactly what I thought he was going to do: 130 yards, 8 receptions, and 1 touchdown in negative 30-degree weather, no less. Again, Tua Tagovailoa can't play well in the cold. This is not just going to miraculously change. Once again, he didn't play well. Raheem Mostert did not play well whatsoever. Tyreek Hill tried his best, willed his team for 7 points, right? Put
Yeah,
his team on the board by himself, put his team on his back, and tried to do exactly what he wanted to do, which was beat his former team, but he couldn't do it. He's only one player out of all the rest of the team.
yeah, I agree. This is why I truly believe the Chiefs were going to win because I knew the Dolphins aren't used outside of Tyreek, obviously. The Dolphins are not used to this type of weather. Tyreek played in it for 5 years, so he was used to it. That's why he succeeded. The rest of the Dolphins, though, they're not used to this. They were not built for the moment, like you said, and that's why the Chiefs ended up winning. Patrick Mahomes is probably one of the best, if not the best, playoff performers in the league at the moment, and he showed that once again. And Rasheed Rice is very underrated, and he's getting put on the map as he should be. And then, yeah, obviously Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, that Dolphins defense was injured, so that did stink as well for the Dolphins. But I mean, Tua has to play better to give him a shot to win in the playoffs. And if your quarterback doesn't play well in the playoffs, there's a very slim chance you're going to win, and that was the case for the Dolphins.
Yeah, and for me, it came down to who wanted it more, right? And to
I
me, it
mean,
really was Patrick Mahomes.
I think the Chiefs are trying to prove people wrong because they hear all the narratives about, oh, how their offense is terrible. They're not going to get past this first round, yada, yada, yada. They're like, okay, we'll take that to heart and use it as motivation.
And they did that exact same thing last year. And that's why I have the utmost confidence in Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to put my money where on that team no matter what. Because
Like,
Patrick Mahomes did that last year with a subpar offense, right?
and the
A
defense
good
is better
defense
this year.
and you just said it. Their defense is better, which
Like,
is scary.
yeah, the weather what did contribute to the Dolphins playing bad, but they held the arguably the most explosive offense in the league, to 7 points.
Yeah, I mean, but it wasn't the cold. We have to, we do have
Right,
to look at that. And for the fact that it is the Miami Dolphins, they're not accustomed to playing in the cold weather like Kansas City is, or
right.
possibly Buffalo, right? Or Pittsburgh. So really, I think you have to look at that into consideration of how that offense played. But really, it comes down to Tua Tagovailoa not being able to play in the cold, and the rest of the team was not prepared for that cold weather and for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree. And that does go on Mike McDaniels as well. You got to prepare your team better moving forward, starting next season. But if the Chiefs do beat the Bills, I truly believe that they will make another Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, why wouldn't they, right? They have to play the Bills, which they've shown they've owned in the playoffs, right? Yes, this
So,
could be the crazy year where the Bills win at home, right?
right. Their biggest
But there's
threat is
another narrative.
their
I'm
biggest threat
sorry.
is the Ravens. And I haven't seen Lamar play great in the playoffs. I've seen Mahomes play great.
And let's not we're gonna go to that for a little bit later, but if you want to say that Mahomes is trying to fight another narrative, the narrative is he hasn't played on the road ever
Right,
in his
right.
postseason career.
This is it will be a tough test, but I truly believe I put Mahomes against anybody, and I truly believe he'll win.
I say he is the second hungriest player in the NFL right now,
Who's
trying to win Super
first?
Bowl. First, I want to say that it is. I don't believe Patrick's first, only because I want to say Lamar is. Yes, he's not. He's not like, okay, let me show you through everything that I can do personally. But Lamar Jackson's career is on the line right now. If he does not
Hmm.
win a Super Bowl with this squad, with how the NFL is set up right now in the playoff picture, he's not going to get it done.
No. So
So I think Lamar Jackson's the hungriest player right now. He needs that Super Bowl win to be, a Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
yeah, that's fair. It's gonna if it does come down to the Chiefs Ravens, that'll probably be one of the best AFC Championship matchups in a long time.
I do like that, and I do think that will be one of the toughest, AFC matchups. But here's the thing: the Kansas City Chiefs took this year playing Miami, playing the Dolphins, or no, playing the Bills, then possibly playing the Ravens. That is the toughest road we have seen from an AFC team, I think, in years, right?
And say they do beat the Bills, they'd have to go on the road again in Baltimore.
In Baltimore. Then let's just say, okay, let's say the 49ers make it out of the NFC.
Right.
Then they have to play the best team in the NFC in the San Francisco 49ers. This will be the toughest Super Bowl. And if they win, Patrick Mahomes, you can't argue he's closer to Tom Brady than everyone thinks. That's
Oh, I
that's my
agree.
opinion. If he goes heads and wins the Super Bowl on the road like this, he's closer.
If he defeats these narratives and beats all these top tier teams to get another ring, he's by far the best player in the NFL, and he will be in the GOAT discussion like 5 years into his career, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But speaking of the Texans, they who are the Ravens matchup, they put a beating on Joe Flacco and the Browns. Put an end real quick to the Browns season. CJ Stroud played absolutely fantastic for his first playoff game. Um, he he had 274 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, to do that as a rookie in your first playoff game, this kid has it, and it's not going to be easy for the Ravens to take him out.
And that's why I said that, this is going to be tough for the Ravens. But CJ Stroud just took out, you know what? I'm not going to say that. The Texans defense
The
took
Texans
out
played absolutely
the
fantastic.
Broncos.
Yeah, yeah,
Two back-to-back pick sixes on Joe
yeah.
Flacco. It's unfortunate to the end of his career. Maybe he'll get a start somewhere else, or even the
Back in Cleveland as a
Browns,
backup. Yeah,
right? I think he might even get a start, honestly, but we'll see. If the Texans defense plays the way they did, Baltimore has to watch out because you have that great offense and CJ Stroud and that defense. I mean, that's going to be a tough matchup no matter who you're playing against.
yeah. I think it's going to be more of a defensive game than people think because if the Texans defense play as good as they did Saturday, um, and the Ravens defense plays as good as they have all season, it's going to be a low scoring game.
right?
And I don't know, man. I just don't think the Texans or the Ravens can go in thinking, oh, easy win, because it's not an easy win. Nothing's an easy win in the NFL come playoff time. And we've seen Lamar's track record.
Yeah, I mean, this is the only reason why I think this he's the hungriest player is because he hasn't played well in the postseason. He needs the Super Bowl championship to be considered, one of the best to do it. And
Well,
with his, what I'm saying with his playing style, right?
no, I was gonna say, well, we also thought about that about Dak Prescott, and look what happened.
But he he
He
needs a
does
Super
need,
Bowl.
yeah, he absolutely does, and he does. I think he hears the narratives. He doesn't buy into them, but he hears them, and I think he's trying to shut them up.
Yeah, and I think he can do that because he's Lamar Jackson. He's a two-time MVP,
I mean,
caliber player.
he's about to be 3-time in my opinion.
Three, yeah, well, definitely three. I would say three-time, depending on who's gonna, who would beat him out. But yes,
Right.
three-time MVP. He's the player to do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's going to be tough, but credit to the Texans for how well they played, especially with how young they are and with a first year head
right.
coach.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah. But so let's go to that Mr. Jared Goff lover. Let's go to that Lions Rams game.
Man, oh man, am I happy about this game. Y'all were saying I love myself some Matt Stafford. Don't get me wrong, but I am so happy Jared Goff won this game.
I believe that's their first playoff win in 36
32
years, something
years.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 32. For him to do that with Dan Campbell, Amar St. Brown, I mean, with the caliber of celebrities that was at that game, with the fans as excited as they were, that city needed it. They need a win right now.
Oh,
Detroit needs a win.
100%. I mean, you had Michigan win the championship. The Pistons suck. Let's take them out. But I mean, you have the Lions who have a legit shot at a Super Bowl run.
100%. And that is because of Jared Goff, who is a top 10 quarterback. I've been saying this. Jared Goff is a top 10 quarterback.
I'll put him top 15 still.
My goodness. I mean, it is an improvement, but you got to put respect where respect is. He went to the Super Bowl once, which you say it was because of his defense, but yes, his offense, he needed to be a game manager, which he was. And now he's making plays, creating offense. Jared Goff is that guy. And he was doubted after going to Detroit, and now look at him, he's being praised. All I've had to say was good things about Jared Goff. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, congrats to Jared Goff. He's proven me wrong. I mean, Nick Saban wouldn't say it, but he's proving Sayer wrong. Um, he's proving a lot of people wrong. As you said, he was very critiqued after his stint with the Rams and getting cut or getting traded. And then, I mean, it was a win-win trade for both teams. Matthew Stafford
Right,
won the
right.
Rams a Super Bowl,
Yeah,
and then Jared Goff got the Lions back into relevancy. And
yeah.
now the fact they faced off and it was a great game. Credit to the Rams, Matthew Stafford, especially Puka Nacua. That man's going to be a problem for years to come. 187 yards or something like that in 181 yards in his first playoff game. He's going to be a problem. But I mean, I love Dan Campbell. He's a great coach, and he's obviously Jared Goff deserves a lot of credit, but I believe Dan Campbell deserves the most credit for how he turned this culture around.
100%. You cannot change the culture around without a great leader, and that in turn is a great coach, right? Look at Bill Belichick when he went to the Patriots, they were nothing. Bill Belichick created the Patriot way, right? Bill Belichick is the Patriot way. You look at Dan Campbell now, and you look at the grittiness he instilled into this team, right? He says, no matter what, we're going to play with the grit, right? And so the grittiness he's play, see, it is Detroit. Detroit is grittiness, right? They work hard, then they create, great results. Now, the Detroit Lions, they're doing the exact same thing, and they're instilling that grittiness. And I love the culture that he's instilled within the franchise, and everyone's for it. Everyone's accepted it, and now they're following his leadership. And like everyone's saying, Dan Campbell could honestly be, why not president? Everyone wants Dan Campbell as president right now because of how great of a leader he is for the Detroit Lions. But right now, he wants the Super Bowl for this franchise, and I think he might get it. because of, his work ethic and the team's work ethic.
Yeah, I mean, given the fact that both the Cowboys and Eagles were eliminated in round one, bodes very well for the Detroit Lions if they can get by the Bucks. Their biggest test will most likely be the 49ers. And if they can get by them, it's going to be I mean, it would be a tough test to see who they play in the AFC, either Ravens or Chiefs, in my opinion. But I, it's either way, even if they don't make a Super Bowl, if they make the NFC Championship, it's a step in the right direction, no matter what.
They did exactly what they needed to do, which is win a playoff game. Yes, I'm
Right.
sorry for you Cowboys fans, but you haven't done what 20 years almost, right?
Yeah, so it's bad.
So I mean, yes, they've already won the season because they won a playoff game, in my opinion, and now everything else is a cherry on top.
But I believe they got some unfinished business in the word of Kobe Bryant.
100%.
And I think this team is, I wouldn't say they're Super Bowl, they're good enough to win the Super Bowl, but they're good enough to make it to the NFC Championship. I don't think they'll beat the 49ers, but that it would be a good fight, I would say.
It would be a great fight. I think the Lions do have a chance. I would give them a bigger chance than I think you would right now, just because of the grittiness. And I also think that Green Bay is going to be no slouch to the 49ers as well.
Yeah, but that 49ers defense, man, I don't know who's gonna be able to score on them.
We'll see.
It's gonna be interesting. But before it clocks out, what's your most surprising game from round one?
Most surprising game. I want to say it. And I think it was your guys' game. That's the most surprising game. I really did expect, I think, everything else to happen. But if you want to get into that for 2 minutes and have, or do you want to go into something else?
No, that was unfortunately that was my most surprising game as well. I went in with very high hopes, as you guys know. I wasn't saying we'd make the Super Bowl, but with the path we had, two straight home games where we had won 16 straight at home, I thought at least NFC Championship. And I mean, it was terrible from the start, getting down 20-0. Dak Prescott throwing that pick six. I've never turned a playoff game off that fast in my entire life. I was that's the most upset I've been in a long time. And that's saying something because as you know, Cowboys fans are let down every year. And it was just the hopes I had, the roster we had. I just don't understand what continues to go wrong outside of coaches, which as we know, we will get into. But I, it's just terrible. It was awful to watch.
That's all you got to say?
For now, I'm keeping the rant for when I have time.
Oh, I see. I'll make mine quick then because I really don't have that much to say. I am extremely disappointed. I don't understand. I saw this team differently this year. Yes, every other year I'm like, look at the past, look at the Dallas Cowboys. But you look at the way they played this year, offensively, defensively, they were looking like a different team. And then in the playoff game, in the wild card round, they don't show up at
To a
all
sep
whatsoever, offensively and defensively. That makes zero sense to me. That's all on coaching, and you keep the coach. I mean, hey, Jerry, whatever you want to do, you do, man. You're a billionaire for a reason. But in my opinion, Mike McCarthy would go.
I would
Dan
have
would become
fired
the head
I would have
coach.
fired Mike McCarthy right after the game. I'd go to the locker room. I wouldn't care what he said to the players. I wouldn't let him say anything to the players. I say, pack your stuff, get out, you're done.
And I 100% agree. And to light a fire under Dak, I would say Trey Lance is starting right off the bat. I don't care.
No, I
You
just
you,
tell
you
him,
couldn't show
I just
up,
I just all right. So as we were saying before we got cut off, me personally, I would just tell Dak Prescott that he's not getting extended because he doesn't deserve it until he proves that he can win when it matters most. Or alternative is draft a quarterback, and that will also light a fire under him because I don't believe he like saying Trey Lance starting would light a fire under him solely
mm,
because he knows that he could win that job back and probably would.
I mean, the only reason why I said that was because he doesn't deserve a starting position in my opinion right now. If you were the Dallas Cowboys, he needs to understand that his job is, on the table. It's on the line.
Well, I agree with that, and I think not extending him does that personally.
not extending him, but at the same time, if you're not allowed to prove why we should extend you by having you in the second option, right? Yes, being like, okay,
But
well, we're starting Trey Lance, but wait, in the training camp, if you're playing and you're fighting for your job in training camp and in preseason, then we understand you're hungry, right? This is where you got to go. But if you don't tell him that, you don't give him any hunger, and he's like, okay, and he's just content with losing this playoff series or this playoff game, right? And then he's content with his job. He doesn't have to take any responsibility. He's Dak Prescott. He is showing MVP like numbers this season and seasons past. Why do I have to prove myself, even though I know how I'm playing? It's not my fault we couldn't score that much. It's everyone else's.
here's the thing. I truly believe if we started Trey Lance, we wouldn't even be in the playoff position.
I think if you develop Trey Lance, I think Trey Lance could be a great option. Why not? Dak Prescott wasn't a great option until Tony Romo got hurt.
True, but I think personally, Dak is the best option right now for me personally. I give him one more year without an extension, and if he doesn't get it done, then I'm done.
I mean, you're you're losing a lot of time here, bud.
We've already lost a lot of time. Let's just say that.
I'm just saying you're losing a lot of time. You said this year, next year, next year, next
Yeah,
year.
but even if we
Same 2016.
same thing if we have Trey Lance though, because he's not developed to be a starting quarterback, in my opinion.
He isn't, but you have a team that can win a Super Bowl, right?
100%. But I know he hasn't performed in the playoffs, but I think Dak Prescott is the best option to get us to the Super Bowl.
Why can't Trey Lance be the next Jordan Love? Why can't Trey Lance be the next CJ Stroud? He was a top
See,
three. He was a top three quarterback pick for a reason.
yeah, I just personally I don't believe in him. That's just me though.
So here's the thing for me. Could could Jordan Rush,
Cooper Rush.
Cooper, my bad. Could Cooper Rush have played better in this playoff game than Dak Prescott?
I think any quarterback could have played better than Dak Prescott, but it's also solely not on Dak Prescott. But I'll get into that when I give my thoughts. So I'll hear your thoughts first and then go into my little rant.
I mean, yeah, those were my thoughts. I did think it was on Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy. Dan Quinn obviously, for some reason, couldn't coach that game. Didn't have a great, good, game plan heading into that game. I just have the most respect for the Green Bay Packers. I think they came out hungry. They came out fighting. They came out with chip on their shoulder. And honestly, they played like they had house money, right? They they didn't need to win that game. They already succeeded by making the playoffs. But when you have nothing to lose and you go ahead and put everything out on the field like that, you're gonna end up winning the game. And I don't think Dallas Cowboys put everything they could out on the field. I think they were starstruck by Jordan Love, in my opinion, and they were shocked that they went down 7-0.
I 100% agree. We came out flat, regardless of what, I'm not going to swear, but regardless of what Mike McCarthy says, we came out flat. He said he doesn't believe they came out flat, yada, yada, yada. They came out too fast, blah, blah, blah. I'm in shock that we kept Mike McCarthy as coach. And to me, there's one common denominator. His name is Jerry Jones. And we haven't been to an NFC championship in 30 years. Jerry Jones continues to do absolutely nothing about it. He doesn't fire coaches solely because of exactly what you texted me that day. He hires coaches based off their willing to do whatever he asks them to do.
Mhm.
He doesn't hire coaches who want to take his power. He wants all the power. And that's a very big problem and has led to no success for 30 years. You'd think he'd see that change. He does not. And it didn't change this year as we have kept Mike McCarthy, which I am very upset about. I don't believe, yes, okay, Mike McCarthy does win in the regular season. 12-win seasons are great. He did have Dak Prescott play at an MVP level this season. Dak Prescott had his best season with Mike calling plays. But that all doesn't matter to me if you can't win in the playoffs. Mike McCarthy has won, I believe, one playoff game in his 4 years of the Dallas Cowboys.
Mhm.
Not going to get it done. Just not going to get it done. He does not deserve to be head coach of the Dallas Cowboys anymore. And Jerry Jones, I will say this. Since you're keeping Mike McCarthy, you have to go out and do your job this offseason. Go out and make the roster better because you said it's on the roster. You said it's on the front office. I don't understand how you could say that. We had three players in MVP voting. We had 15 Pro Bowlers. This is not on the roster. It's solely on the coaches' lack of game planning. You could see that throughout the entire game. Dak Prescott threw the ball 60 times. That's unacceptable. No quarterback should throw it that many times in a playoff game, regardless of how much you're down. It's a lack of game planning, a lack of coaching. And Mike McCarthy should not remain head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, but obviously he will. And I hope I'm proven wrong, but I'm just going into next year hoping that, or going to next year with the reality that we are not going to win when it matters most. And I'm just not going to get my hopes up because I don't expect anything. If we can't get it done with this roster, then I truly believe we never will. That given, Mike McCarthy, I mean, there's nothing else to be said. He shouldn't be the coach, as Gio said. And I just don't understand Jerry's thinking behind this. There's plenty of other coaches out there that I would have loved. Obviously, Bill Belichick, but Jerry Jones would not have wanted that given the lack of power he would have. I think Mike Vrabel would have been a great fit. And I also think if we got Mike Vrabel, we could have got Derrick Henry, which would have been great. But it all falls on Jerry Jones to me from here on out since he's keeping Mike McCarthy. This has to be his most aggressive offseason in the history of the Dallas Cowboys, in the words of Darren Orlovsky. And I completely agree. We'll see what happens. To get to the game, though, Dan Quinn had a horrible, horrible scheme. You could tell the defense was not prepared. And I wouldn't, I would be fine with Dan Quinn leaving for a head coaching job. I don't believe he deserves a head coaching job after that game that he performed against the Packers, but I'd be completely fine losing him because his defense, like Mark McCarthy's offense, shows up in the regular season. But when it comes down to it, the defense never shows up in the playoffs. It showed up one time last year against the San Francisco 49ers. I put that game on the offense. That's the only game I put on the offense in the past 5 years in the playoffs. The defense continues to let up 30 plus points. They let up 48 points to a mid-tier, I'll say mid-tier Packers offense. That's unacceptable. You cannot allow that to happen, which leads me to Micah Parsons. I love Micah Parsons. He does not deserve the money he's asking for. He does also not show up when it matters most. And he's all talk like Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is saying Super Bowl or bust, Super Bowl or bust. Continues to do the same thing over and over. Micah's saying the same thing. All these players are saying Super Bowl or bust, and the coach and the owner, but they keep doing the same thing every single year, underperforming when it matters most. Micah Parsons, I believe, had maybe I saw him get to the quarterback two times, maybe. That's unacceptable. You have to if you're the player you say you are, you will make sure you make your presence known in a playoff setting. I have not seen Micah Parsons do that in, I believe, 4 years with the Dallas Cowboys. I love Micah Parsons, but he has to step up come playoffs, and there's no getting around that. And that is also true of Dak Prescott. Two playoff wins in an 8 year career. You don't deserve a 50 million a year extension. I'm sorry. If you prove me wrong, you prove me wrong. Great. But you don't deserve it right now. Like, I don't even know if I want you as my starter right now, as Gio said. I just believe that the Cowboys have no choice to keep him as a starter because there's no other better options available at the time. But if he doesn't get it done this upcoming season, and can when we can get someone either through the draft, free agency, or trade, I'm 100% on board because it's getting to the point where he's becoming a new Tony Romo. He does great things in the regular season, flat lines in the playoffs. I just don't understand. As I said, I don't understand what continues to go wrong when it matters most. I mean, it's just I don't know what else to say except the Cowboys have a history of choking, and until I see that history change, it's I'm just going in with low expectations because I'm done getting disappointed.
Yeah. So that was a lot to take in. So I expected the whole, Mike McCarthy. I expected Dan Quinn, two obvious, choices to put blame on. And then obviously you had Dak Prescott. Micah Parsons was not on that list for me. I didn't, yes, I do agree he needs to show up in the postseason. I only gave him, the slightest of the doubt because I thought it was the game plan with how, yes, they did, poorly execute his game plan, but I 100% believe it was the game plan that made Micah Parsons, not play well. Yes, he could still be out there, but like you said, they are doubling him just about on every single time they're trying to at least. So that gives space for other people to step up, other players to step up, and they didn't do that. The game plan has to change when they do that to Micah, right? Not solely rely on Micah to do wondrous things for you to win you the game. That relies on Dan Quinn. When you look at Jerry Jones, he thinks he is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not saying that because I'm a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm saying that because he believes that he can hire from within. He thinks that the relationships allow you to hire, smartly, right? And having a relationship with Mike McCarthy for these past couple of years makes him believe in Mike McCarthy. It makes him believe, okay, yes, it is, the roster. It's not Mike. It's not Dan Quinn. It's not the front office. It's not this, blah, 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 right? But
Bro,
when it comes down to it, when you're a smart owner, you have to make changes. Look at Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, the most accomplished coach in NFL history. Yes, he should have stayed with them, but it is time for a new era, right? And that's exactly what they're getting. They're getting a nice young coach with a chip on his shoulder. To me, I think he will be a great coach only because I've seen his press conferences. He's well spoken and he seems like he's got the energy like Dan Campbell, right? So he's got that type of energy, and you do need that new era to flow in order to have success because something's not working out with Dallas right now, and it hasn't worked out, and it is because of the relationships that Jerry Jones has relied on these last 20 years. Look what I mean, the worst thing he could have done was fire Jimmy Johnson. The worst thing he could have done. He would have won at least more Super Bowls if he kept him. And that's my opinion. But you fire him so that you can go ahead and have losing seasons upon losing season, right? Then you go ahead and hire Garrett, right? And then you have a couple good winning seasons with Tony Romo. But I guarantee you, if you had a good coach, Tony Romo would be a Super Bowl champion by now. You
and the
would.
same goes for Dak Prescott.
Same goes with Dak Prescott, and it is going to be sad because I don't think he's going to win a Super Bowl ever
I
unless
don't
he
either.
leaves the Dallas Cowboys. You have to leave Dallas. Yes, it is America's team, but you have to leave Dallas if you want to win. It's not going to
100%.
happen there.
100%. And it all goes back to Jerry Jones. He doesn't hire great coaches, as I said, because of the lack of power he would have. He doesn't care. He can say all he wants, how much he cares about winning, but his actions show he doesn't. He doesn't do it. He sits back and watches in the offseason and makes minor changes here and there. Nothing that moves the needle enough to win a championship. And then he blames himself. And then he does the same thing over and over and over and over. It's never going to change as long as Jerry's the owner. He's got to be the worst owner in the history of sports right now. And to be an owner, you have to have guts. And Jerry Jones has no guts at all.
He doesn't have any guts. The only thing he has is money, and he's not putting it to good use.
Exactly. So as I've come to the conclusion, as long as Jerry Jones is the owner and Mike McCarthy is the head coach, the Dallas Cowboys, especially Jerry Jones, the Dallas Cowboys will continue to underwhelm.
I mean, I think I think Dan Orlovsky put it perfectly. Yes, people say it was in the, moment, right? And with emotion, because, Mike McCarthy's re-signing. Dan Orlovsky said that the Dallas Cowboys are all talk. They don't, have any actions they can't, so they can talk, but they can't walk the walk, right? I 100% agree. Jerry Jones was hungry. Jerry Jones wants to win a Super Bowl before he, ends up dying someday. He wants to do this. He wants to do that. Put your money where your mouth is, Jerry. Sign the
Exactly.
sign the greatest coach ever. I don't care what you have to do. You could have Bill Belichick on your hands. You could have Vrabel on your hand. I mean, you could have so many great coaches right now. The market is saturated with great coaches. This is going to be the only time you're going to see this like this.
Exactly. And
You re-sign Mike McCarthy?
that's what makes me so mad is that, yeah, McCarthy has 1 year left on his contract. Who cares? Fire him. He hasn't done anything. It's not even like the lack of Mike McCarthy winning the playoffs. It's just the number of better coaches out there that has me the most upset because it just shows me that he doesn't care as much about winning as he says he does. And that's why I say this offseason will show me how truly serious he is about it because he's shown a history of, just sitting back and watching. But if he actually goes out and gets say a Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley or someone like that, it will actually show me that he is serious about winning and that he is serious about owning up to his mistakes from the past seasons.
But even then, you have a Super Bowl contending roster. You have the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's just say that 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers right now. And you need a 2017 Golden State Kevin Durant Warriors. You need that squad to win a Super Bowl? Are you kidding me right now? You have
It,
a championship contending squad and you can't get it done. But you need to have an overpowered squad that has no chance of losing. Like you shouldn't lose a single game if you have Derrick Henry or Saquon.
no, but it all falls back to Mike McCarthy, who Jerry Jones is hell bent on keeping.
It's ridiculous to me. But you know, you can only have the broken record play so many times until you get tired of it.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with Dan Orlovsky. Jerry talks all he talks, he says what the fans want to hear. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But his actions show you exactly what he really is about, and that's just about money.
Yeah, and if I'm Ezekiel Elliott right now, I'm laughing at the Dallas Cowboys. I'm happy I'm off that squad and I'm with the new squad.
Yeah, for real. I mean, hearing McCarthy's press conference today got me even more upset. He said, buy into us. Bro, I've
Yep.
been bought in for 4 years. You've continued to let me down. Why would I buy in anymore?
Well,
Please tell
well,
me that.
not only that, let's break this down. Mike McCarthy said he's a winning coach. True.
In the regular season, sure.
You're a winning coach. You do not have any success. You had Brett Favre, one. You had
Aaron
Aaron.
Rodgers, let's be honest. Rodgers won you the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was about to say you have Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and Dak Prescott. Three capable quarterbacks. Two right now are definitely going to the Hall of Fame. One could go into the Hall of Fame. So you could have potentially three Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and you only have one Super Bowl to account for it. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, sure, you're a winning coach in the regular season. When it matters, though, you fold like a lawn chair.
And I agree 100%. And it's sad to see, but some people are like that, and some people don't see the future, and some people don't understand, and sit back and absorb the information given to them, absorb what real success is. Because if Mike McCarthy thinks he's successful, that's sad. He's not successful.
No,
He
I
might be in
mean,
real life. Go ahead. Sure, you really swindled the Dallas Cowboys to give you all the money in the world. You are so successful outside of football because you have a great life, probably a great family. You're living the best life you can right now because of the money that Jerry's feeding you. And other than that, football wise, you are not successful.
yeah, exactly. I mean, Aaron Rodgers made you just as Drew Brees made Sean Payton and Tom Brady made Bill Belichick.
But here's the thing: they each made each other. Bill Belichick complimented Tom Brady. Tom Brady complimented Bill Belichick, right? And you go back to all the other ones. You go back to Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. They complimented each other for some time. You go to all other great coaches and their quarterback. They complimented each other. Do you really think you compliment Dak Prescott? He could be one of the best. Are you one of the best? I don't think so.
No, definitely not. And he's shown that continuously.
Right.
But as you did say, I do have to give credit to the Green Bay Packers, seventh seed coming in at home. I mean, the Cowboys pretty much earned that two seed
Mhm.
for nothing, unfortunately. But credit to the Packers for coming
Yeah.
out and in Arlington and throwing haymakers from the start. They knew exactly what they were doing. That's why they received the ball. They wanted to throw a punch early, and after that first punch was thrown, the Cowboys could not react. And just credit to the Packers. I mean, if they played this well against the 49ers got their hands full.
Like I said, Green Bay played with house money, and they did exactly that. They took advantage of the opportunity, and they came out with a win.
I believe they have underdog mentality. They are very underrated. I believe they won like 6 of their last 7. You
That's
want to
right.
be hot going into the playoffs. They are hot right now. They could
That's
beat
right.
anybody. So we'll
Yep.
see what happens.
But
But
let's get to that last playoff game.
yeah, I was about to say, Mr. Steelers fan, I know you're probably upset, but you did see it coming a little bit. So let's hear your thoughts on that game.
Yeah. Um, Not that great of expectations for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I knew we were a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contending team.
And you still are.
Without our best player, I thought when TJ Watt, I thought we fought hard against the
100%. I mean, to score 17 points is an accomplishment in my opinion.
the for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, we played our hearts out. We were down 21-0,
Yeah.
and we came, like you said, 17 points. I think it was 31 to 17.
Yeah.
We were so close. We were down 17-24 at one point where we just needed to stop. And I think our defense, we played tremendous defense, in the second half. And yes, we're gonna make one mistake here or there, and that's what happened on that drive. We made a couple mistakes. They got a couple first downs, and that was the end of the game for the most part. It was unfortunate, but congratulations to Josh Allen. You played I don't want to say like a second grade team, but really, if you're able to score a 52-yard touchdown on that squad without TJ Watt, good for you. Because TJ Watt's not letting that happen. He's not letting that fly. And good luck playing against the Kansas City Chiefs because you're gonna need it.
Yeah. I mean, people are hyping up the Bills, but let's be honest. It was a 7 seed Steelers, Mason Rudolph at quarterback, and no TJ Watt.
And we
This,
just yes, I was happy we made the playoffs. I was happy we had a winning season, but we just skidded
yeah,
by the skin of our teeth because the Tennessee Titans happened to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars.
literally. So let's calm down on the Bills hype. The Bills, let's be honest, they should have blew out the Pittsburgh Steelers,
I agree.
and they almost did. They were up 21 nothing, but the Bills have a tendency to play down to their competition. They did that yet again. And that is why I truly believe that they won't beat the Chiefs because they play down to their competition and eventually it's going to bite them in the butt. And I think it will be against the Chiefs. And I mean, credit to the Steelers for battling as hard as they did, like you said. Um, I just I just want to get your thoughts. Like I heard George Pickens said he was playing against the refs as well. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say there were I'm not gonna, put the refs and say, because the refs we lost.
Right.
There were a lot of things in my opinion that could have been looked at and they weren't looked at. George Pickens, obviously, one play that was obvious late in the game. I think we were down 17-24 at that point. There was a holding call and they didn't call it. I mean, it was an
Yeah.
obvious holding call, and because you are in Buffalo, because you're getting paid by,
Right.
Bills Mafia, you think you can make that call?
No.
I mean, I used to have respect for the Mafia, right? I used to have respect for Bills Mafia. After I saw that snowball go ahead on that touchdown play where George Pickens could have made a touchdown play, yes, it was a little late, but you still throw a snowball, still, affected the game just because you wanted to cheat. That's not right. I don't care what you say. That's unsportsmanlike in any shape, form, whatever. To have that happen, to have snowballs being thrown onto the field is ridiculous. And I have no respect for Bills Mafia anymore. I could care less. I think Kansas City, they should win by like 50 points. You guys don't have a quarterback. You guys don't have a Super Bowl. We have six. I mean, let's really, you want to point the finger. Y'all could have had four Super Bowls in the 90s and y'all didn't win a single one. Y'all didn't win a single one. What happened there?
I mean, yeah, I've always it goes Eagles fans and then Bills fans for me, and it's always been that way.
I mean,
I've never,
you're really gonna try to win by cheating, by throwing
yeah,
snowballs on the field? Come on, man.
I've never respected Bills fans for that reason. They don't care. They did the same thing last year. I forget who it was against, but the refs had to stop the game to tell them to stop throwing snowballs, and then fans continued to do it and got arrested. Like these fans are ruthless, and they are just it's just messed up what they do to help their team win, and that showed. But yeah, I mean, the Steelers didn't have a great shot going into that game, but given that it was at Buffalo and the refs were on their side, home field advantage
Right.
also didn't help. But I mean, not going to say the refs helped them win because the Bills did win that game. Credit to Josh Allen
They
for
did.
playing as well as he did, but he's not going to play that well against the Chiefs defense. I can promise you that. And I mean, like, uh, I just don't think the Bills did not move me this past Monday with their performance. They were up 21 nothing and they almost blew it. They should have absolutely blown out the Steelers.
100%. And I give credit to Mike Tomlin and our staff because we were able to make the adjustments in the second half and look how we played in the second half. We almost came back and won that game. But when you look at what the rest did, when you look at George Pickens' fumble, when you look at, there could have been a fumble on the Bills side, which they called an incomplete pass. I mean, when you see forward progression in a receiver and you don't call it, right? Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that could have went, the other way. And when you look at for the Steelers side, yes, I think the refs were just terrible this game. When you look at Pat Fryermuth and they say that was, he was out of bounds. I know the play you know the play where it hits his helmet and they say it was an out of bounds. That ball is live still. That ball is still live, right? Should have been Bill's ball. And when the refs really had that much say in the game, that game shouldn't count for anything, right? Because the refs are in control of that game and not the teams itself, themselves. So
Yeah, for sure. I will say this, like after playoff games, reporters should not be asking coaches about their
that was ridiculous.
coaching future. The same thing happens to Mike McCarthy and the same thing happened to Nick Sirianni. They just lost a playoff game. You think they're in the right state of mind to answer a question about how they might lose their job? Like, come on, reporters got to do better.
I mean, not even that, but for Mike Tomlin to think about stepping away, for him to already say that how he was going to talk to his family beforehand,
And here's
and
the thing,
you still ask that question.
and Mike Tomlin hasn't had a below 500 record in how long? Like, he's not going to get fired.
Well, not even that, but he said he wanted to step down, step away for a little bit, not even just get fired, but he had to talk to his family about the decision he was going to make before the game happened. And when you know that knowledge and you still ask him that question after the game, that's ridiculous to me. And that just shows you what kind of time we are in with the media,
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter. It's just for the clicks. It's just for give me the answer right now, right? The short attention span. It's not like there's no empathy, right, with the media.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
cruel and terrible. And so when you look at it in that way, then I mean, I feel sorry for, like you said, Mike McCarthy, Sirianni, Tomlin, all these guys that are getting asked questions when they're not in the right mindset.
yeah. I mean, it happens in the NBA too. Like, reporters just have to do better. And if I ever do get the job that I want, I will make it my mission to make it a better atmosphere for players and coaches.
For sure.
But moving on to round two predictions. We'll start with Texans Ravens. I know you were a fan of CJ Stroud. You think he can get it done against the Ravens?
I do, just because I think that the Ravens um have something to prove, but I think the Texans have something even, more to prove. They are playing with house money. I think they can get it done, especially if they played the defense they did and the offense. I think they have a great shot, and I think they will beat the Baltimore Ravens.
To me, I think it will be a close game. But I think I picked the Ravens to make the Super Bowl, and I'm going to stick with it. I think the Ravens are going to come out firing, and I think Lamar Jackson is going to shut up some haters this weekend. I still think the Texans will keep it close. I could see a 10 to 14 point win for the Baltimore Ravens.
I can see that. Moving forward though to the other AFC one, Bills Chiefs. Who do you have in that one?
Yeah, as I've said, I'm never betting against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, and
Yep.
I'm gonna stick with that. I'm going Chiefs just solely because the Bills haven't moved me all season, and I don't think I think they'll continue to play down to their level against the Chiefs.
I think the Chiefs. I agree with you. I think the Chiefs are going to get it done once again. You can't bet against Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones on that defense. I think they're going to get it done in Buffalo. I think they're hungry, and yeah, so I got the Chiefs winning that one.
Yeah, so on to the NFC. Let's go Lions Bucks. What's your prediction?
That's the worst matchup in my opinion because it's my two guys, Baker Mayfield against Jared Goff. I don't like I said last time, I love Matt Stafford. I love Jared Goff. Whoever wins that game, won, and I'm happy for them. I think I'm going to be the same way this way. I don't. I see the Lions winning this game just because they are the Lions. But if the Bucks win, I will be so happy for Baker Mayfield and that squad because they deserve nothing less than that.
Yeah, I also believe the Lions will win. I just think they're the better team. I do
Mhm.
think the Bucks will put up a fight,
Yep.
but I just don't see their offense playing as good as they did against the Eagles because the Lions defense is so much better than the Eagles.
Oh, 100%. So
But Packers Niners.
I would love the underdog story. I would love to see Jordan Love go ahead and win this game. I'm gonna pick them.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick the underdog only
Okay.
because 49ers have a little rust. Packers have a great defense. Their offense is running smoothly right now with that 1-2 punch. And the 49ers have 3 weeks off. Brock Purdy's Brock Purdy. I can't trust him. He has the weapons around him, but I cannot trust Brock Purdy.
That's fair. I this is the worst matchup for me because I hate both these teams. The Packers own us, so I just hate them for that. And then the
Right.
Niners are our rivals, and I will always hate the Niners. But um I gotta go 49ers. I just think they're the better team. The Packers are hot right now. I could see them putting up a fight. I just think that they're going to struggle with that 49ers defense, Jordan Love specifically. I believe the 49ers will get a lot of pressure on Jordan Love, unlike the Cowboys, and Jordan Love will fold under that pressure because he's not good when teams pressure him.
Yeah, I can see that too.
But so we got a little bit of time to talk about the NBA before it gets cut off. Obviously, the Pacers and Raptors did complete a three-team trade. I believe it was Bruce Brown and three firsts for Pascal Siakam from the Pacers, and then Kyra Lewis. Where did he end up on the Pacers or did he end up on the?
I'm not sure on
All
that
right, I'll
one.
look it up real quick, but obviously Bruce Brown and three firsts from the Raptors or from the Pacers to the Raptors for Pascal Siakam. So what's your thoughts on that trade?
I mean, I love it for both squads. Yeah, the Raptors are committing to that full rebuild right now, and I think they have a great young squad. They're gonna have an even better squad with the first round picks. I think the Pacers got better depth wise. Pascal Siakam, he's a champion. Don't forget about that.
Right.
He's gonna be great. Come playoff time when you have Tyrese Halliburton, when you have Miles Turner, who's a top five center in the league. I think you have a great squad. You keep Buddy Healed, right?
Oh yeah, they
And
kept Betty, yeah.
so
But
I
I mean,
mean,
he might there's rumors he could get moved, but we'll see.
there have been rumors for the last couple of years. If he doesn't,
Yeah.
I mean, Buddy Hield's Buddy Healed. I think he's a great sharpshooter, and Tyrese Halliburton's a great player. Pascal Siakam gives you that great depth, great extra star player presence, on your squad. Going to the playoffs, you're going to need him as a champion, and I think that's a great move for them.
Yeah, I agree. So the full trade was the Indiana Pacers acquired Pascal Siakam that sent Bruce Brown, Jordan Noir, and three first round picks to the Raptors. And then the Pelicans sent Kyra Lewis Jr. and a 2024 second round pick to the Pacers as well. So the Pacers and Raptors both made out, in my opinion. I mean, it's a win-win trade. Obviously, the Raptors are rebuilding, as Gio said. I personally would have kept Siakam just to see what he could have done with RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly in a full season. But he might have, I truly believe that they didn't um, keep him because they didn't want to resign him to the Supermax, which is what he wants. And I
Mhm.
think the Pacers are going to resign him to that. Given how much they gave up for him, there's no way that they would have traded that much without knowing that he was going to resign there. So I do agree that Pacers roster is looking much better. Tyrese Halliburton is probably a top five point guard in the league when healthy right now. Buddy Hield is a sharpshooter, like you said. They got Miles Turner, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam. Siakam and Miles Turner alone are defensive presence, and it's going to be very hard to score on that team now, which has been their weakness. They've been the worst defensive team in the league, and that's truly why I believe they decided to get Pascal Siakam because they wanted to increase their defense. And I think they're taking an approach like the Timberwolves, where they got two bigs now in the paint to defend it, and we'll see what happens. But overall, on paper, it looks very good. And then for the Raptors, I mean, Bruce Brown, they're probably going to offload, is what I'm hearing, but still, they got RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly who are turning that team around. And as I said, I believe it's a win-win for both teams.
Yeah, 100%.
You got a segment?
Do I have a segment? Yeah, I do want to shout out Syracuse basketball,
Yeah.
um, men's and women's, right?
Oh yeah, women's has a number 25 in the country.
They're number 25 in the country, and I'm loving what I'm seeing from Judah Mintz on the men's side,
Yeah,
right? Being a leader, their last game, they could have lost that game, but
yeah.
against Pitt, love the ball distribution. Haven't seen them pass like this, be such an equally dominant team with Copeland, with Mintz, with Brown, right? With uh who's the sh
Starling.
Starling, no, the shooter.
Oh, Chris Bell.
Chris Bell, thank you. And I'm just loving what I'm seeing from that squad, loving what I'm seeing from Autry, right?
Yeah,
Love that,
yeah,
enthusiastic coach.
yeah.
So for them, loving what they're doing. And then on the women's side, right? Uh, sorry, real
You're
quick.
good.
Um, is it I don't know, Di uh Daisha Fair?
Uh, it might be CJ Fair's sister. I don't know.
All I know is she hit 3,000 points, which is,
Oh wow.
you know, huge milestone, right? And for her being the size that she is, hitting that milestone, continually getting better, right? Love seeing that from her, being a great leader on the squad. So, getting the win tonight, love seeing that. So, congratulations to both the men and the women's squads for Syracuse.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love what Coach Red Autry is doing on the men's side. I'm not much of the women's supporter, but on the men's side, I do love seeing what Coach Red Autry is doing. I love seeing an enthusiastic coach for once on the sideline, unlike Jim Boeheim, who used to just sit there and fiddle with his hands. But very happy to see what Red Autry has done. And I was very happy to see JJ Starling take charge last game and play the way he's capable of playing. We need some more of that. Only thing I would say is that I would like to see JJ or Justin Taylor out of the starting lineup. I'm not a big fan of him. So hopefully, if he does stay in the lineup, he can pick it up. But if not, I just don't see why he's starting. But outside of that, great season so far for them, and they do have tournament potential. In the video game world, though, it was announced that College Football 24 is dropping July 12th. So very, very excited for that and cannot wait for that. So stay tuned for more updates on that. And thank y'all for watching. See y'all in the next one.
Hey guys, if you like the video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys have any comments, go ahead and put those down there too. Look for Nick Saya down there. And like, two wise men once said, subscribe and see you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.